episode number 306 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. My guest today is Desiree Bartlett. Desiree is passionate about sharing the joy of movement. With over 25 years of experience in health and wellness, she holds a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, a master's degree in corporate fitness, and is currently pursuing a doctoral degree in exercise science. At the heart of her philosophy is the belief in the interconnectedness of mind and body. As a women's health expert with advanced certifications in yoga, personal training, prenatal and postnatal fitness, and group fitness, her expertise has been showcased on major networks such as ABC, NBC, Fox, Univision, Hallmark, and Lifetime. Desi's influence extends beyond her client base through multiple online classes, including Daily Om, Beach Body, and iFit. She's the author of Your Strong, Sexy Pregnancy, a yoga fitness guide, a comprehensive guide, and co-author of Total Body Beautiful, Secrets to Looking and Feeling Your Best After the Age of 35. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. Welcome to the podcast, Desi.
Thank you so much. Aloha from Hawaii. This is a beautiful morning over here on the island, and I'm so happy to connect with you.
I absolutely love Hawaii, by the way. Been there. It's so magical. I have to say, I really miss it now. We've been there like 2 years ago, and I can't wait to come back. So I'd love to hear your background. What got you started in this work that you do?
So my mother was a hippie, and she was a disciple of Goswami Kriyananda at the Temple of Kriya Yoga in Chicago. So I grew up with meditation and yoga since the time I was 6 years old. When I was in college, I got really deep into fitness and I pursued 2 degrees. I've got my degree in kinesiology and my master's in corporate fitness. And
Awesome.
Actually, I'm on the brink of getting my PhD right now. I'm also in kinesiology. And so I've just been extremely passionate about helping women through all transitions of life for many years. I have 2 children, and I know that pregnancy and fertility especially can be such a journey. So it's my pleasure, my privilege, my honor to really support women through all of life's changes.
Amazing. First of all, I actually took a little course on kinesiology and found it to be fascinating. So I'd love to actually start there. For people who have never heard of it, I would love for you to share it for somebody who's like never heard of it before.
Kinesiology is all about the study of the human body. And what we look at is biomechanics and, like what muscle is specifically working when you're moving your arm, let's say 0 to 45 degrees and then 45 to 90 degrees, et cetera. And so what I've learned is not only anatomy and physiology and really understanding the body from the inside out, but how the body moves. So when you layer that on with yoga and all of the esoteric teachings, it's so fascinating to me because what I'm seeing now is that what the yogis have been teaching quite literally for millennia is what we're discovering today.
Yes.
So for example, when we talk about something like yoga nidra, which is yogic sleep, when we go into progressive relaxation. So for example, some of your listeners might have enjoyed a meditation where you close your eyes, slow your breath down, relax your feet, let that feeling of relaxation move to your ankles, and you go through the entire body. What we know now is that there are specific physiological processes that are happening inside of your body that promote this relaxation and restoration on a cellular level. So on the one hand, I'm full-blown science nerd, and on the other hand, I'm like super duper hippie. And when I can prove one with the other, it lights me up.
I totally get it. Say no more. Cause like I feel the same way. And you know, what's really cool. Like the more I'm doing this, the more I have guests on the podcast, the more I'm realizing, wow, we're actually like at a place that we've wanted to go for so long. And people always thought that science had to be completely different from spirituality, that like the two could not connect. But I'm seeing more and more that they're actually connecting in a beautiful way.
Absolutely. And I think that really also speaks to what you do and what you offer women so beautifully as well in terms of acupuncture. And when we're starting to understand, like in yoga we call them nadis, the energy lines. We're starting to understand that there's a reason that people have been talking about this for so many years, and it's because it really works. So when we're able to bring this knowledge and education to women, especially on a fertility journey, I think it can be such a gift because it's not woo woo,
Right.
there's actual science that's involved. And so if I'm asking you, like, hey, let's take this step together and let me support you, I'm doing so from a place of feeling like I can actually help empower you. This isn't just
Love
us
that.
wishing.
That's beautiful. I really love that. So talk to me about kinesiology, like what got you into it and how can you bridge that or like use that in your teachings and your practices?
I went to ASU and I was originally a broadcasting major and I had a dance class. And I noticed that my knee hurt all of the time. And so I went to the university doctor and he said to me, he's like, no problem. You are not injured. You just need to strengthen your quads. And I said, what's a quad? And so he explained to me, and his fate would have it that very evening I met second place Miss Olympia on campus. And I was telling her what was going on. And she's like, all good, girl. I've got you. I'm going to take you to the gym. She introduced me to the leg extension. And I fell in love with fitness. And my joke is that that evening I walked into the gym and I never left. So, what I've learned is that you can strengthen your muscles, your joints, your connective tissue. But while you're in the gym or on a yoga mat, we're also strengthening our minds. In order to push through that next rep or to lift the heavier weight, something is happening in our minds as well. We're making a decision to commit to the next level. And I truly believe that that's all applicable to our daily lives. When we feel stronger in our bodies and our minds, we can take that strength, that power into everything that we do with a sense of confidence. Like if I can lift that 200-pound whatever, of course I can take this conference call. We're good.
Totally. I always say that. I mean, the challenges, and sometimes I'll take a course or an exercise class and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. And I love taking the class because I feel so much more motivated when I have a teacher. And the teacher's like, I know this is hard, but get through it, go to your breath, and then it gets me to my breath and I'm like, okay, focus on my breath. And it makes you strong internally. Like you learn to deal with things that are not easy. So I 100% agree with what you just said. I totally feel that way myself. And not just that, I am so fascinated by connecting with the body. There's somatic therapy
Yes.
where it really, you connect with your body in order to process emotions and to process your internal state. I mean, there's so much more to that than what I'm explaining because that's not specifically my specialty, but it's really fascinating to me because I've learned more and more as I'm doing this, and even with what I do, that we process emotions physically a lot more than we think. We think it's all up here in our minds, but it really, so much of it is in our bodies. And actually, when we do get into our bodies, that is how we're able to manage them more easily. And it doesn't feel as overwhelming as when we're thinking about them or just staying in that mindset.
Amen. Somatic therapy, I remember reading about it the first time, probably about, goodness, 30 years ago. There's a wonderful book by Barbara Brennan. If I remember correctly, I think it's called Hands of Light.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a nurse, if I remember correctly, and working with people, and noticed that when she would touch certain parts of their body, it would trigger a memory. It would trigger an emotional response in many cases. Way back when I was like a little baby fitness teacher, I remember working as a personal trainer in Chicago. This is like 1996. And I would touch people to stretch them, like just relax your trapezius or let me help you with your hamstring stretch. and I felt and experienced and saw the same thing. When you're that close to someone's energy body, you can almost feel, or I can feel the memory. And I'm like, whoa, what was that? But I didn't
Wow,
have the
interesting.
tools at that time say, enjoy a very deep breath. Let's let it go. And let's let that experience be sort of like a cloud and just let it move on by. We don't have to attach to it. In yoga, we have a technique called neti, neti, neti. I am not this thought. I am not this body. I am not this experience. You're the one who's all the way behind all that, right? So
Right.
now I have the tools to help women, especially, and empower them. So when there's been trauma, we can talk about it when necessary, especially if I'm working with your body. The body is such a sacred space and it's our temple. So if I have the privilege and the honor of helping to guide your body, of course I'm going to approach it with deep sense of reverence. And any feeling or emotion that's popping up, we'll say hello to it. We'll see where it comes from if it needs to be explored more. But let's also start to focus on what is the intention? What do you want to feel today? So if you're waking up with a feeling of like chaos and oh my gosh, and I'm not sure what the next move is, and I've got this whole to-do list and I've got this and that and on and on and on, and the mind is spinning, well, where do we want to go? Is the intention perhaps grounding? And then I can help you start to ground and breathe and feel your lower body. And so when things come up, we can absolutely talk about that and move through it. But let's also be really, really focused on where we're going. So we're not getting lost in a constant loop of what was.
And do you see that a lot with the people that you're working with where they have like a real release or something old comes out when they're stretching in a certain way, or they're a lot of times in the hips, I hear that a lot of people hold a lot of tension in their hips and emotions there as
Yes.
well.
So, three places in the body that tend to store a lot. Number one, as you said, in the hips, specifically the psoas, the hip flexors tend to hold a lot of old tension around fight or flight. So I know you and I have spoken before about fight or flight. Think about it, Michelle, if you're getting ready to like either dig in and fight or just hightail it out of there, what activates? The hip flexors, because that's what activates when you're going to run or when
Right,
you're going to stay and squat and like push. So it's totally normal. Tell the body, or for the body to tell us rather, hey, I need to release all this because I didn't even use it. I
right,
realized I was only on the 405 freeway. I didn't need to fight or flee. It was just my
right.
body spinning out because there was so much stress. So that's where something like yoga comes in and deep hip openers and release, and we can let all of that go. But getting back to my original point, the other two places in the body where we tend to store particular emotions, and this isn't one size fits all, you might experience one thing somewhere else in the body, totally normal. But generally speaking, as human beings, the second place where we tend to store it is in the shoulders. And so, especially in our modern day, like tech neck kind of world, you kind of notice that the voice goes up and the shoulders go up when we get stressed. And that also has to do with like fear and anxiety. So we're carrying quite literally the weight of the world on our shoulders. So we can start to release that and relax the trapezius and breathe into that. And then the third and final common place for us to store a lot of muscular tension is in the jaw. And pound for pound, this is like the strongest part of the body, which is crazy. That's
That
why
is
when
pretty crazy.
Yeah, right. That's why when we grind our teeth, we can quite literally take bone through bone because it's so strong. So this is usually related to words left unspoken, needing to speak your truth, let it out. And how many times in this lifetime have we been told, like, just it won't serve you to tell your boss off or that kind of thing? Yes, that's true. But when and where do we actually get to release it? Have you gone for a walk this morning and just let it
Yeah.
all out with a great big exhale? It can help. I'm of Mexican ancestry. I'm Mexican and Russian. And I remember when I lived in Mexico, I learned the expression, un dicho, calladita te ves más bonita. It means when you're quiet, you look prettier. And so there's this messaging around like, hold it in. And so I'm here
Yeah.
to tell you, like, we're
Yeah, get it out.
let it out.
It's true. It's true. I've been a meditator for a while, and I think everybody should at least try it because there's so much benefit to going internally because it really connects you to listening to your body and listening to what's going on. And of course, too, many meditators will understand this. I think if they hear this, is that you get a lot of downloads. It actually allows for an opportunity for a lot of intuitive downloads. And unless you really allow yourself that space, you may not realize that. But I think a lot of people everybody that I've talked to that meditates is like, oh my God, that happens to me. So
Definitely.
therefore, my conclusion is that when you sit and meditate, you do get intuitive hits and downloads. And so one of the things that came to me is it's like maintaining and cleansing. It's like you need to maintain your mind and your body by cleansing and releasing often, just like you do anything else, even in your household, even the oil in your car, everything, even your body when you're releasing waste. I mean, you need to release energetically. And I think that's something that is so often ignored. And people could just get in a habit of holding and holding and holding. And it's almost like emotional constipation. Like you literally are holding it in. I know I'm really great with analogies, but you really like literally are holding it in. And so they say kind of like you're holding so much weight and holding on to so much of the past or things that are holding you back. It's true. Like there's really truth in that. And so sometimes when I get quiet, that's when I start to feel, oh, I'm holding a lot. I wasn't even aware of that. And I think that that's what is so beautiful, specifically with yoga, because yoga is movement and meditation and mindfulness at the same time and breath work, which is a whole other thing because in the breath work, you can release so much as well.
Amen. Yes. So meditation is sort of like brushing your teeth. It's something that we can do daily and it's a cleanse, as you were saying. And so if we can simply take the time to connect, I like to share with folks that you can do it first thing in the morning. So when you first wake up in the morning, before you even open your eyes, slow the breath down, and perhaps you even go back into the dream state and just ask yourself, your higher self, show me, show me, show me. What am I meant to do today? What is the dream of my life and how can I take the next step? What is the right next step? And let it reveal itself to you. So in the same way that we have this muscular body and all of the beautiful processes that are happening every day, obviously, of course, we have the vital organs. And it's so interesting to me because the yogis, when they started to understand the chakras and the energetic body, it really lines up to like the organs in our body. So what you're talking about specifically is third eye, right? And so third eye relates to the pituitary. And this is vision beyond what's in front of our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've all experienced this, whether you're daydreaming or in a deep state of prayer. For those of you who pray, there's this moment of being able to see, like, oh, that's the next right step. Mm-hmm. And you can breathe into it and you can feel that peace within your body. But if you go directly from the sleep state to the phone and CNN, Fox, like, oy vey, there's so much happening right now in the world, it will pull you off your center immediately. Mm-hmm. So before you give yourself to the world, I'm just going to ask you to give yourself a moment to breathe and really decide for yourself, where is it I want to show up today? How can I be of service? And I feel like that sets you up for success.
Oh, I love that. I love that because it is a proactive way to really approach your day. And I always talk about the proactive versus reactive because, yeah, we can react. We get our phone or somebody wants something from us. Then all of our actions are reactions really to something else that's pulling on us. And so when we do that at the beginning of our day, before we have any pull whatsoever, I just think that is so beautiful and that is so wise to start off your day with your own intention, with your own calling, with your own moment. I just think that is a hugely powerful practice. And I know that people who do things like that are more successful, like not just in their business, but I mean, they use this for business because it works in the business because it's powerful in general. So you could use this for anything, for your personal life, for everything.
Absolutely. And to your point, I think it was probably 3, 4 years ago, all of a sudden I started hearing about morning rituals. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, the marketing folks have gotten a hold of this technique. And I don't judge. I love it. I love that the word is spread out to everyone because
Yeah.
if it works, it's universal truth.
Oh, totally. You can apply it to everything, for sure. But I remember watching Miracle Morning, and then I read the book. It's fascinating. I highly recommend people watch the video, which is free. You could find the video for free, but you can also get the book. And I thought it was fascinating. He basically he pulled all the things that people who were successful in their life or like felt control over their life. What did they do? What's their like magic ingredient? So he would find things like meditation in the morning. And it all started in the morning because in the morning you're getting in before everybody else gets you. Just like you said, before anything else happens, get yourself then it's like getting when you're telling your boss something and you're catching him right before he goes into the meeting, into the craziness. And so it's a good time to catch yourself as well.
So I'd love to just also talk a little bit about the why behind all of this. So it's also fascinating. And what we're talking about, you and I are so aligned with our messaging and being of service to women and really empowering women with the tools that they need to create the dream of their lives. And I want to just share for a moment part of why I do this. So I love yoga and meditation and fitness and all the things, and it's been such an integral part of my life and my path. I don't know why, Michelle, but I'm called to share this story today. On September 11th, 2001, I was on a plane. I had gone home to Chicago for my 30th birthday, and I was going back to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, where I lived at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard over the intercom, we need to make a landing right now. And as soon as we landed, I got off the plane and I saw the television screens. We landed in Tulsa, Oklahoma, obviously not the intended place. I was supposed to go all the way to Mexico. And I saw on the screen Tower 2 and the plane hitting Tower 2.
Oh my God.
And so I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma for 3 days waiting for travel to be available again. And I made the mistake of watching a lot of the news, and it was so heavy to take all of that in because I could feel so much pain, not just my own, but those around me. And so I turned off the television and I used my tools and I went into a very, very deep state of meditation. And I said, show me, show me, show me. How can I be of service? How can I help? And what I heard at that time, and I don't usually share this because it feels so deeply personal, but because we're talking to women on a fertility journey, that's personal and I want to meet them where they are. I heard, share your gifts, share your gifts, share your gifts. And for me, what are my gifts? My gifts, my gift to this world is helping you to feel good in your own body, helping you to feel strong and capable and flexible and do anything that you want. So when the international borders finally opened again, I went to Mexico. I sold everything I had. I jumped on a plane and moved to Los Angeles 2 weeks later. And the reason I moved to LA specifically is because, as silly as it might sound to some, it was really important to me to yoga and fitness DVDs in English and Spanish, to do prenatal fitness, yoga, all of the things. And so LA was the right fit. And LA was such a gift to me because it led me to my husband and having babies and writing books and all the things. So I just really highly encourage you, when there is trauma or pain or doubt, go within, listen, get so quiet that you can actually hear, this is the next right step.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know it was a very personal story, so thank you so much for sharing that. That is really, really profound, because I think that oftentimes it's such a human reaction when something bad happens or you're feeling emotions that are overwhelming, you want to either distract yourself or make it stop. I think of the saying, the only way out is through. And I can't say just how true that is. There is no other way, because it will come back up. And I see that all the time when people come in for acupuncture, or even people say when they're doing yoga, they get into a certain stretch and it does come out because it's being held. If it doesn't go through, it's being held. Really, if you look at like ancient culture and ancient tradition, ancient wisdom, they always say to go within. They're always pointing you inward. It's incredible.
Absolutely. Because of so much of what you've studied comes from China, and so much of what I've studied comes from India, we have this Eastern perspective that we can weave into the Western. Eastern isn't necessarily better. Western isn't necessarily bad. And I hear some people saying like, oh, it's so Western. I'm like, well, Western also brought us like antibiotics. So
right. Totally.
We don't want to throw it away, but we can weave that wisdom of centuries old Eastern traditions into what we know now.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. And so working with fertility, I know you do fertility yoga as well. What are some of the things and the tools that you use to help women when they're trying to conceive?
So a lot of what I do, in addition to strengthening the body and making sure that the body feels ready to carry a pregnancy, is meditation. We go into a very deep state of meditation. Often have women bring one hand to the heart and one hand to the womb. Close your eyes and communicate with your baby and invite your baby into this space on his or her own divine right timing. It's not up to us. And as much as we want to decide like, oh, it's today, it's this week, it's this year, that baby, that soul, in my opinion, has its own path. And so we honor that and we talk to the baby and we say, hey, however it is that you're going to come through, if it's through my body and this vessel, I welcome you. If it's through another woman's body or another means, I honor you, but I'm ready to receive you in my arms. And so we make this heart-to-heart call, essentially. You're calling in the baby and you're letting the baby and the soul know, I'm ready for you. Again, however that comes is beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. And what's really amazing is that there's this heart-uterus connection with, so the heart basically is connected to the uterus. I think we spoke about that when I was on the live. Did we talk about that?
We did, and it was the first time I've ever heard anyone say it. So I would love if you could speak more about it, because you intrigued me, and I'm like, I love this.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. I talk about this a lot. I actually have a whole chapter in the Way of Fertility because it is such an integral part, really, of conception. The heart plays a very strong role. I think it's overlooked a lot, and this is one of the reasons why your emotions make such an impact, really, on everything. I mean, you could say also fertility, but really everything. But the heart specifically has a role in opening the uterus. So it has a role in labor as well. And what's really, really fascinating is that oxytocin, which is coined as the heart hormone, the love hormone, which is one of the other things that I'm seeing as bridging science of the new to the old teachings, is that oxytocin has an impact on contracting the uterus. And it's one of the things that gets things started in labor. So when you're opening the uterus, it's opening for both taking in and taking out. Mm-hmm. So Ina May Gaskin, she was midwife, and I remember hearing this phrase from her that says the same energy that gets the baby in gets the baby out. And well, oxytocin also plays a role around ovulation. It increases. Why is that? It's not random. Why would it increase around ovulation? Why would it increase after orgasm? Like around that time, why would it do that if it had no role? Nothing is left with no role. Like everything's planned in our bodies. There's always something that's there for a reason. So I always found that interesting because that's kind of like how we measure it in conventional medicine or modern science. And it really correlates to that. And I love the fact that you said that you put your hands, which I think your hands too have so much energy. And when we love somebody, we put our hands on them. So I love that you put your hand on your heart and your womb, because having that connection, even touching it, when we're touching something, we're placing our intention there. And also, our arms are kind of connected via the heart. So it's almost like a circuit that happens energetically. And I'm like, I just think that is amazing that you do that.
It's so interesting that you say that it's like a circuit, because if you look at all of the older like statues of the divine feminine, that's how their arms are held. And like you're saying, it's a continuation of the heart energy or the heart chakra energy that travels through the arms and the hands as conduits. Mm-hmm. And to go back to like muscular science nerd speak, if I put my hands on one of your muscles while you're training, the muscle can and or will contract up to 50% more efficiently if I'm touching you. So if a trainer
so cool.
Isn't it cool? If a trainer is like tapping on your bicep while you're doing a bicep curl, it isn't just like, okay, Michelle, this is the muscle. It's to activate that muscle, for that muscle to go, yeah, I'm supposed to contract. So
that's fascinating. That is amazing.
So in the same way that we can remind the muscles, we can remind the organs and the energy body, like, hey, I see you, I feel you. Let's show up in the way that we're supposed to today.
I love that. Thank you for that information, because that is blowing my mind. I didn't even realize that it was like that responsive, but it makes sense. It makes sense that we'd be responsive to touch in general. And we know that love and touch, even for premature babies, helps them dramatically. So I always say, if that love and touch helps that, why wouldn't it help the conception as well? And I just think that kind of centering in. So continue. So you were saying that connecting with the heart and the uterus and just really like getting into your body and making that connection is one of the first ways that you start.
Yes. I work with so many women who don't ever think about their uterus or their womb. And when I say words like vaginal canal or introitus, there's still a little bit of this like puritanical energy that I think we carry, especially in the United States. And you'll hear almost like the little Beavis and Butthead giggle very often. I do it too. They said that. And so I go back to how you were saying that there's a reason for everything. One of my very first jobs, goodness, I think I was like just barely 18, was as a weight loss counselor. Do you remember Jenny Craig?
Yes.
They used to make us say like all of these ridiculous words like gas bubbles and constipation. We had to say all these words over and over and over so that we were really, really comfortable saying it without giggling, because we needed to be able to speak to people about what was happening in their GI system and if that was related to holding on to weight. So when I'm speaking with women, I like to use the words, and let's talk about your womb and your vagina and your uterus and the energy that we're bringing into these areas so that we can start to wake it up. So it's not just like, oh yeah, down there. I hear a lot of people say down there, and I'm like, down where? Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk to our bodies. And if we want our bodies to be responsive in the way that we want a dear friend to be responsive and to show up for us, let's talk to it with love and respect and by its correct name.
I love that. I really love that perspective of just really being there and seeing it for what it is and honoring it and not pushing it away uncomfortably and just really taking it in, because I do feel like your body and your organs respond to your thoughts and your intention and your own energy and emotion towards it.
Amen. And so what I teach women is about the energetic body and chakras. And the second chakra is, of course, where we unite with another. So if the first chakra is the foundation, we're standing on our own as women or as men. It's the individual. The second chakra is where we come into communion with another. We share our body with another If we are wishing to conceive, that's the energy that we bring in. So going back to like Ina May Gaskin and the energy that you conceive with is the energy that helps with labor and delivery. How do you want to bring a baby into this world? Is it with love and union and respect and reverence? Yeah, for me, yes.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about it.
Oh, for sure. And I also think that I also love working with chakras. I had a background in Ayurveda, so we talked about the chakras, and then even Chinese medicine, you can see that there's certain points that correspond to those chakras. And first of all, it's a thing. It's a vortex on your body. It has energy. You can feel it. And even just thinking about it in a meditation, just your thought alone, your awareness can release it and work on it. And another thing is, so we talk about the chakras, we talk about all the different things, but the chakras are interrelated. They communicate. They're, especially the neighboring ones, they are related. So I always think about like the first chakra is safety. If you're not feeling safe, it can impact your period. It can impact your reproductive health. So it's almost like you need to be safe in order to create. So your second chakra is depending on that foundation of the safety and that rootedness and that groundedness. And if you're in survival, you can't create because you're too busy surviving.
Yes, and to your point, you and I were chatting the other day about how the body holds on to the energy in the arms and the legs when it's in fight or flight, so it can
Yeah.
hightail out of a stressful situation. So how are you supposed to conceive in that environment? So it's interesting that every other chakra is individual or communion with another. So we have first is just you, second is the sexual energy, third is your creativity, fourth is love. And so we kind of go back and forth between this me on my own and me with another. And so I think that's really fascinating. So we can start to explore with our partner if we're wishing to conceive, how do we share our energy with one another? And then getting back to nerd science, because I always take it back there, it's also important to think about how each chakra relates to the endocrine system. And so second chakra, then we're talking about like reproductive hormones. And I learned this because I have thyroid issues. And so I've been on Synthroid for like 35 years. And yes, I'm ready to get off it. And yes, I need to work with an acupuncturist like yesterday. But what I learned is that fifth chakra, or the voice, and listen to my voice tremble as I even say that, it's related to the thyroid. So what's happening in the second chakra and the reproductive hormonal response, it's all related. And it's my honor and my joy to teach women about their bodies physically and their energy bodies. And I have to just take a moment in gratitude for you because, again, I feel this resonance and alignment, and you and I speak the same language of Eastern and Western blended.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Desi. I actually really feel resonant with you and what you're saying. I'm like, you're speaking my language. And I think also about how in between the heart and the mind is the voice. It's kind of like the go-between with your heart, which is right there. And so when we're aligned with that, with the love, I think that is very healing. Just really loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, allowing ourselves that beautiful gift of expression.
Amen. And so when we're speaking to one another, just as humans, if I'm working with a client, for example, that's where I always start. Hey, how are you? And actually listening. I don't want to just hear that, fine, how are you? But like, really, how are you? What's happening? What's happening in your body, your mind, and your heart? And let that come through. And as they share their voice, that's when I start to get impressions of like, oh, okay, we can go here, we can go there. But the simple act of sharing our truth is so important.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think just listening, just because so many people feel, this is what I hear, that they're not being heard. a lot of times when they go to the doctor, they say, like, I don't really feel like I was heard. I didn't really get a chance to ask my questions. I asked my questions, but they dismissed it. And I feel like that just by itself can really impact you on so many levels of feeling, that feeling of safety or being held or being supported. So I think just being there as a space to listen and for people to be able to express themselves is such a gift that you can give them. And it was interesting because yesterday we happened to have a live Instagram, and you were saying that you really feel in your gut like I was aligned. I feel the same way about you. I feel in my heart that you are very passionate, like you are coming from such a purposeful place with the people that you're working with and with your work, which is really amazing. I love it. I really appreciate that. And to see that, I think that if all of us found our true purpose and worked through that passion, that's how we heal.
Amen. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's received and appreciated. And again, I made a vow to the universe on that day in 2001. This is why I'm here. I continue to honor it, to renew it, and I wake up with my heart full every day.
I love that so much. So for people who are listening to this, because I'm sure that a lot of people are really inspired by everything that you're sharing, how can they find you? How can they work with you? Because I know that you do bring out a lot of your lessons out for people to receive.
So you can find me really easily through my website. It's DesiBartlett.com. I have a whole new subscription platform on there for folks who want to enjoy the Body Mind Workout, which is a combination of meditation, yoga, and fitness. I also have books available that are on there, one of which is called Your Strong, Sexy Pregnancy, a yoga and fitness guide. And there is a fertility section in there. So if you're thinking, wait, I'm not pregnant yet, please know that there is a message there for you as well. I'm also super active on Instagram. You can find me at Mothers Into Living Fit. So however I can best help support you on your path, I'm here.
Awesome. Desi, this was such a great conversation. I've really enjoyed all of the conversations that we had, even leading up to this. And I'm just so excited to meet another practitioner who I resonate so much with and has so much soul really in what they're doing. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for all that you're doing and for letting me be a part of it. It's my pleasure.
So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.